guys, welcome to episode 4 of Thompsin and Other Disappointments. My guest this week is an old friend. She and I grew up on the same council estate, but we first became mates in the Hobgoblin in Maidenhead, which is a pub that we all used to go out and get smashed in. We both moved up separately to London, and she has since started up a recruitment and introductions agency in Amsterdam called FreshhhConnections. Today we've been talking about loads of stuff. We've been going over like reminiscing old times and British booze culture, to Black Lives Matter, to what, I don't know, social media might look like in like 10 years time. It's been a really interesting chat and great to catch up with her. She has a laugh that could fill the room. Please give it up for my friend, Maxine Penney. Maxine Penney, hello.
That is I. Hello.
Hello to you. How the fuck are you doing?
I am doing very well.
This is weird, isn't it? It's like we're old friends, but we don't really we catch up on WhatsApp and stuff, but this feel like, I mean, I'm new to the whole podcasting thing anyway, so it's a bit like I always feel a little bit on edge, but I feel a little bit like we should be doing this around a pub table in Maidenhead and just chatting about what we're doing and like how our lives are going and all the rest of it. But this is as good as it gets in the middle of a pandemic, I suppose.
This is as good as it gets. I mean, I wish that we could all be around the fireside, huddled together.
Yeah.
Memories of days past, but this is it. I've kind of got used to it because I was doing my radio show, but then no one really sees you. And I really hated Zoom. You know me, I didn't like the quizzes on Zoom at the pandemic. So I just was like, why do I want to stare at a computer screen? But I have got used to it now. Yeah,
it becomes sort of, I think, like your connection to the out. Like I was joking with a colleague the other day about doing this podcast, and I was saying, like, I mean, it seems like I'm trying to explore some new medium or something, but actually all it is I'm a crushingly lonely father, and this is what it takes now in the middle of a pandemic, is to book in a conversation with somebody once a week. This is like my only social interaction.
This is it. And I'm still running away because I spend most of my time at work on because I got a new job, so I spend most of my days having these, introductions on Zoom. So by about 6 o'clock, I'm exhausted because you don't get the real connection. You don't get the, sort of natural energy and things like that.
It's going to be like, what do you think the output is going to be at the end of the pandemic? Let's say everybody's vaccinated, and then you go into the office or catch up with friends. Do you think that people are going to adjust to the lack of like skin on skin, like touch and affection and tactile? So like, do you think after all of this we're going to be more standoffish, or do you think people are going to go fucking crazy and just tongue kiss in the middle of meetings and stuff?
French kiss.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a little bit of both, because I think that there was this kind of like overwhelming social etiquette where you had to kiss people, and you don't always want to kiss people hello, especially if you don't know them. So I think now you can just be like, oh, I'm still sorry, pandemic.
I mean, you don't know how lonely I am. I'll kiss everyone at the moment.
I mean, I've turned completely opposite. I've turned into a massive introvert, which everyone still laughs about.
I don't believe that.
I leave my house for days, but actually I notice that my energy levels are not that high if I don't leave the house. And I really have to force myself to leave the house, but I'm quite cozy in the house.
You've turned into a bit of a hermit.
I've turned into the hermit Penney.
You've got to be careful with that, because I read, I follow this lady, Professor Devi Sridhar, I think her name is.
Yeah.
And she was saying about like how important it is in a pandemic to just get out of your house. And get like sunlight and the smell of trees and all the rest of it. And I think if you hermit yourself too much, it's like cabin fever, depression kind of.
Yeah,
territory.
true. I mean, actually, I still try and go for a walk in the park. I'm lucky I live next to a park, or go for a walk to the shops. Like I haven't got to that point where I only order food online and I never see anyone, and I only
Yeah.
Some of my friends did, and the thing is, I really hate ordering stuff online. I've never been that person.
Yeah.
Baby's having a drink.
Start 'em young. Yeah.
Yeah, scary baby. Is that what you're like as a dad?
Not too far from the truth. Yeah, I haven't quite got him like fetching me beers yet, but it's not far away, I don't think.
I know one of our friends, not to say his name on air, has already got his little one grabbing him beers.
Yeah, I mean, see, here's the thing: is it's one of these things when before you become a parent, it seems like a terrible parent thing to do.
I think it's funny.
Well, that's good. But then, like, once you become a parent and then you're just fucking knackered and they've, like, pissed you off all day, like, they've smashed your favourite thing, then they throw a tantrum at you because you're angry about them smashing your favourite... Like, you get to the end, like, and then this thought pops in your head and you think, oh, I'll just get the little fucker to go and get me... Like, go into the, the wine fridge, yeah? Right, down the bottom of it, there's some cans there. Go and get Daddy one of those cans. Like, and then it's... Like, you lose the guilt of it because it's like, oh.
Well, distraction, isn't it? It's kind of teach them something, get them distracted, get them off your back. I mean, this is the thing. I don't have kids, but obviously I have sisters that have kids and friends that have kids. I just hear all these stories. I'm like, it does not make me want to have kids.
No. I think there's like a bell curve of it where, like, in your 20s, you think, like, it'd be nice to have a family one day. Yeah. And then you get to, like, 30 and you think... All right, come on, better have some kids soon. And I reckon if I'd got to 40 now and I hadn't had kids and seeing all my friends having kids, I'd be like, yeah, fuck that. In a different timeline, I'm childless, and I'm sometimes jealous of that timeline.
I mean, again, there's that kind of thing where it's like that ultimate overwhelming love that you feel. You get shot down like a couple of years later when you're like, just get out of that cupboard. When they're 14 and they're like running away from home, you're like, I thought you'd never be like me. And you're like,
yeah. It's fun. Like, I mean, there is that. It is truly unconditional, and I'm super, super grateful for having children. But I also like there's a Louis C.K. comedy bit where he says like that really all parenthood is like living with this cosmic, like, cross galaxy love inside you that allows you to love people like your grandparents and your great grandparents more than you ever thought was ever possible. And it's like your love like transcends generations and all that. And then he says like, and at the same time you regret every decision you ever made that led to them being born. Like
I mean,
it is a bit like that. Still,
maybe one day. I mean, now with technology and everything else, someone said to me, I still have 10 years to go.
For sure. I think Janet Jackson had a baby when she was like 45 or 46 or something.
Yeah. I mean, the Penney family have all had kids in their sort of mid to late 40s. So yeah. I never really worried about that. It's not like, I never had that ticking clock either. You've got to have children, but I also never met anyone that I think they would be reasonable enough or suitable enough to have a baby without running away. Because
I think you've got some solid foresight there as well, because it's like that's another thing you don't really factor in before you have kids. You think like, I just want to meet someone and like have a family and all the rest of it. And then when you realise how fucking hard it is. You think, thank fuck I didn't do this with somebody who was actually like a third child to look after. Because, I mean, we split things pretty evenly in the house, and we've both got jobs. Yeah. And now we've got a newborn screaming and a 4-year-old throwing tantrums and breaking shit. And it's just like, imagine if like I seriously wonder something. I'm like, imagine if Lucy was a total like if she was like. Like, you didn't get promoted yet, I see. Fuck you. Like, I mean... that kind of stuff. And then, like, going, like, what if she was, like, sleazing onto my friends and stuff? As like, this whole, like, these different facets of drama that people have to deal with every day of their lives on top of having kids. I'm like, I've got it pretty easy.
I mean, not to live my life like a romantic comedy, which I do. I value all of my romantic insights from romantic comedies, but or like TV series dramas. Yeah. I've seen a couple of people, and I've seen friends go through it as well over the years, kind of just being with this partner, and you're like, wow, like how can you cope with that? Plus a job, plus trying to stay healthy, plus having a family. Plus, keeping up with social media. And it just, I never thought that I was ambitious, but I've just always kind of thrown myself into work and sort of like my friends and, just not myself so much.
Well, I don't know. I
I'd
mean,
be much healthier than I would be desperately scrambling for my health now. Yeah.
yeah. So the other thing I was going to just touch on was so when you were saying like you a little bit happier being a bit hermit now, do you think that's because you went out so much in like your 20s and 30s that like now you're just like, you know what, staying in a little bit would be quite nice?
I think so. I think it's like 20 years at least. Because, I mean, I started drinking, sort of around 15 or 16.
Yeah.
And that was pretty late for someone in the UK. I think everyone else was getting, pissed on the school field at like 12, 13, right? But,
yeah. I was a bit late to the game too. I was about 15, I think, the first time I got pissed.
Yeah.
What was your first alcoholic drink?
I think, my mum had given me, every so often a glass of wine, trying to ease you in because that's what you're supposed to do. So it's not like, this big thing you're looking. But I think I had.
I like that it's like easy, like a British parental response. Like, you're gonna get into this, so let's just give you some fucking tolerance.
Yeah, exactly. Just give me a little bit of whiskey if I had a cold when I was younger on the in the bottle. But anyway, that's another story. I think it was actually a pint of cider.
Yeah.
So I think it was cider, 2020. K cider. I think it was cider because it's a bit sweeter and it's a bit easier to drink, right?
I think mine might have been a K cider as well.
Really?
Yeah. It was either K cider or Labatt Ice, but I'm reasonably confident it was K cider in Oaken Grove Park.
Yeah. I think it was it was K cider for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it just progressed on to Snakebite and Black.
Yeah.
Double JD and Cokes. 50p a shot on a Thursday night for Zambuca.
Yeah.
Then rolling into Smoky Joe's and getting the TVR tequila vodka Red Bull jug.
Yeah. I imagine the young, like mid-teens, isn't it? 15. I imagine like a mid-teen experience with alcohol is significantly different for girls than it is for boys for this reason, because if you're a 15-year-old girl and you have 3K cider, at that point, well, first off, that you can get into the pubs in town, because I remember this from when I was like 16. Then like girls that I knew would get into pubs no problem, but for the guys, and this is like the experience I'm getting onto, for guys it's like they can't put makeup, well they can put makeup on, but it's a slightly different trajectory. So like the girls go off into the pub and get bought drinks by like older guys, whatever. Meanwhile, like the 15-year-old boy is just like sat in a cold park in Maidenhead, like.
It's true. They didn't really have a chance, did they?
No.
I remember sort of when I turned 18 and being so happy that I didn't have to do this fake ID. I didn't have a fake ID, but I just used to memorize a different birth date. But I was so bad with maths and numbers, and if I panicked, I'd just probably say it wrong anyway. But I never got asked. So when I got to 18, I remember sort of walking into my favorite local and sort of like, "Oh, I'm 18 now," and they were like, "You've been here for the last 2 years," and I was like, let's just ignore what I just said, and ran off,
I mean, it's my 19th. I misspoke.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I still didn't drink. I started when I was 15. I still didn't drink that much, but when I hit my early 20s, I think, and that's when I really drank. And then when I moved into London, I also again just, I think you're right in terms of. I think the last 20 years I've had such a great time. I've been out, whatever, and my body's just like, no, bitch, you're old now. And I thought it would never happen to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, let's be like, if like here we are chatting away on a podcast, but in like 2 days' time. I mean, it's Tuesday night now, right?
Yeah.
Thursday, like Mondays and Tuesdays are easy days to say, do you know what? It's nice to stay in. But like by Thursday night. What's going to happen when one of your like cool trendy Amsterdam guys texts you and goes like, I'm not going to do an accent, but like if he's like, I heard there's an amazing party down the road and free this and free that, you want to come?
I mean, to be honest, if that was last year, I would be like, yes. But because I really had to really sit with myself, I honestly, because my friends used to be like, JOMO or whatever, like the joy of missing out. And I always had FOMO. And now, like, I think I had a hangover the other day and it took me like a whole week to recover.
Really?
Usually it didn't. And it just kind of petrified me. You know? I was like, why? I mean, I had a good time, yes, but like, is it worth it? So I think I've just become a bit more like is that maybe if it's like once a month now, like if you have a wild one and then I'm dead. And then I really want to focus on work. So I'm like, no.
I will say this, like when, I'm sure your sister has said similar stuff to this effect before, but like when you become a parent and you are restricted in, well, not every parent is, but if you've got childcare problems, right, and you're a bit restricted in terms of what nights out you can go to or like gigs you can do or whatever, it does make you cherish the nights that you like. And this year I feel extra gutted because ordinarily a few friends of ours do a big Christmas reunion for friends in Maidenhead, right? And without, like, it sounds a bit sad and a bit tragic for me to, well, maybe it doesn't, but like I genuinely look forward to that for like maybe 10, 12, 16 weeks before. Like I'm like, it's going to be so much fun to catch up with friends and see what they're all up to and get pissed and have a like dance and like and
then you can handle it.
Yeah, like, well, I guess because it's over Christmas, right? You've got 2 weeks to nurse the hangover. But yeah, I think if I was out like we used to, in the beer years.
Oh God, yeah.
Every night of the week.
Every night, and still get up and go to work, and still get leathered.
Do you think it's like that as you get older, it's harder to manage the hangover, or do you think it's as you get older, you feel like you shouldn't be doing this anymore, and you're like it's a bit boring, and so then you sort of like it's like psychosomatic. Like you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, what the fuck am I doing with myself? Like, I think
that's a bit like it was for me. I mean, when I was going out in my heyday of the last 5 years in the scene, in the music scene in Amsterdam, I mean, everyone was always shocked, like how old I'm, like not old, but like. You're still out. I love it, and I actually had this sense of pride and joy that I still was out having a good time, but not in that sort of creepy older woman way. Just like I kind of just knew where I could go in, walk in on guest list, or sit in the like not that I ever sit in the VIP, but just having that kind of older, a bit more mature way of going out and really enjoying music and being with my mates, rather than getting like absolutely hammered and not remembering the night and losing a shoe and bag along with it and just
fag burn on this arm and
exactly, just but I think now it's my priorities have slightly changed, so it's like I am a bit like, is that a waste of time, or like let's do it on a Friday night and then by Sunday I have to be wrapped up for the next 4 days, whereas we're like let's go for that afternoon wine, or I
suppose it's like the kind of Amsterdam personification of what I imagine the two sides of Ibiza are like. So like you get like the Ibiza uncovered trashy teenagers on holiday after their exams, and then supposedly you get this other side of the island which is actually really beautiful and quite hippy dippy and like acid tabs going around and
exactly, everyone's like true love, peace and love. I've experienced Ibiza on both sides, and I've experienced Amsterdam on both sides. Everyone's quite spiritual here. And because the city's so small, if you want to go home, you can just jump on your bike and go home. Whereas in London, you were kind of just stuck somewhere, or you had to pay for a cab, or it was like quite a long journey so you might as well go all in.
I often wondered if that had like an impact on like how sleazy London men are. So like. If you go out in London and you get talking to a girl in a bar, you have to fucking lock it down like then and there, or you'll never fucking see that girl again. Because there's obviously so many bars and so many like it's so populated, and I wonder if as a foreigner, if you came over to London, you would be struck by how sleazy London men are on that basis. But I don't know.
Dutch women say it all the time. Dutch women hate. English men, because they're like, I don't want to get don't offer me a drink, and like don't come up and talk to me.
Really?
So they're like all these sleazy guys, whereas I was the other way around. I was like, Dutch men are so boring, because no one says anything to you and no one says hello, because there's so many women here and the women are really aggressive here. So if I don't show a guy I like him, I'm probably one getting shoved out the way, and another girl will take him off and bash him over the head and take him home. To me as well. So I was very unlucky in love here because, you know, and that's also why I think I went out quite a lot, because it was just different culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, so you're in Amsterdam and we're on the cusp, on the precipice of Brexit. Is there a perception of Brits over there that you have to deal with, or is it like, do they kind of see you as, oh no, you're one of us in Amsterdam, but like back in your home country you guys seem fucking nuts? Like, what's the perspective?
I think well, yeah, because I've been here for 12 years, that most Dutch people are like, oh, she's an Amsterdammer now, but they are like, what the hell is happening in the UK? Yeah. I'm like, not all Brits are the same, and they just feel like they're very uneducated. They just feel like the politicians are stupid, and you know, they're just you know, because the Dutch are very kind of direct and just like, right, we're just gonna, you know, they're very process orientated, and it just seems like they just don't know what they're doing. And so sometimes I do find myself apologizing for being a Brit. I'm quintessentially British, and I was like, I love the UK and I try and defend it, but sometimes when I see it, I'm like, I'm not sure if I can.
I suppose, like, occasion, like if it's just the English football team being a bit shit, or, you know, an embarrassing song gets to Christmas #1 or something, like, then you could kind of shrug it and like defend it and go like, well, you know, it's not I don't even like football, or I'm not into Mr. Blobby, like, but when it's something like Brexit that gets like voted for with the majority, or, you know, then it's you're like, oh, it's so hard to fucking defend this shit. Oh,
it is, because you can also see the outside media, because I've lived here for so long. Like, I mean, I stopped reading the newspaper and I stopped reading magazines probably 2 or 3 years before I moved to Amsterdam, because I didn't realize that they always had a political agenda. So sometimes when you're in it, you don't see it. And I research a lot. I'm not ignorant. I sort of look at different news sources, and you know, I like educate myself, but you know, and ask friends and friends' opinions. But I think, like a lot of people in the UK, they just see the Sun, they just see the Daily Mail, they just see you know, these headlines, and they kind of don't realize that they're just being fed, you know, absolute shit. So it's hard to blame people that don't know, but at the same time, you're like, well, why don't you just look at other different bits of information and make up your own mind?
The trouble is that many people, I would almost argue that the majority of people are a blend of, I don't care really, and I don't have time to go and look at that. And then the other people are like, well, I trust that at some point things will balance like themselves out. So like I look back at the last election here, where like I didn't vote Conservative, but I also wasn't particularly enamoured with Jeremy Corbyn. But I just thought, well, if that's the option, all right, I'll vote for him. But I knew he wasn't going to get in for the simple, and like here's how I end up down a sort of a black hole of depression with where the UK is at the moment. So I get to a point where I'm like, okay, the last time Labour were in power was with Tony Blair, and Tony Blair won that election, that first one, on the basis that he had Rupert Murdoch supporting him and pumping out Sun stories every day saying, vote Blair, and Blair says this, and he's great, and meanwhile trashing all the Tories and saying that they were sleazy and exposing them and blah, blah, blah. So you got Rupert Murdoch here supporting Blair. Blair gets in. Blair does 2 terms or 3 terms, I think, as Prime Minister, and then Gordon Brown took over for a little bit.
Gordon Brown.
I've never heard that before. That's great. So Blair's then in, and then when Murdoch turns the tide, then Labour are out, and then Cameron comes in because Murdoch is backing him. So the way that I see it is that most people are either idiot Sun readers, or they're just totally switched off and they don't care, and they'll just wait for things to sort themselves out. But I can't see a Labour government getting in, or any sort of pressure changing the Conservatives to move away from this sort of batshit Brexity super right-wing kind of way of governing, unless they get the Sun on board, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. And unfortunately, here's the real problem, is that like in other countries, probably Netherlands, probably like the US and Australia, they have newspapers, and in the morning on the news shows like breakfast TV, it's just like a little thing. Like they just go like, yeah, the New York Times released an expose today and they're covering Tiger Woods and he did this, blah, 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 blah. But it's not like they don't set the agenda in the same way that they do here. Like on BBC Breakfast, Sky News, everything, they all go, right, what do the papers say today, guys? Oh, right, let's go through them. The Sun have got this and the Star have said this. And because they're all fucking right-wing papers, then they set the talking points for the rest of the day. And then LBC and Radio 1 and Radio 4 and all the rest of them keep talking about it. Yeah. So if you pan out and you backtrack all the way back to Murdoch supporting stuff, until he changes or someone like overthrows him, nothing will change and things will get worse. And when I go to that level of it and I'm like, oh, I should just fucking kill myself.
Well, you say kill yourself. I always then start thinking, why don't I just become an assassin? I'm like, if you just assassinated just a few of those top people, then it would be amazing. So
yeah, you'd have to leave your flat though for that, right?
I start to get depressed and annoyed, and I'm like, right, I'm going to fucking kill, these assholes. I wish I could be like Killing Eve,
I will assassinate these people if they come to my flat.
Because I stay at home. I mean, what I see the issue being, and this is, I think you really are right. Some people it's not that they don't care. It's just maybe they are literally working so hard to put money and food on the table.
Yeah.
That they don't have time to kind of go off. And again, that stems from education and things like that. So, the class system in the UK, you can see it, if you're poor, you're poor, if you're not, you're not. And I think in the US as well, you have Fox News sort of doing the same thing with, their right-wing media and Trump. And so when Brexit happened, I was really shocked because I was living in my little left-wing bubble, or my socialist bubble, let's say, in London with all my friends who kind of think the same. And I just kind of thought we'd moved on from there. Yeah. And so I was really shocked when Brexit happened. And then, the subsequent kind of sort of villainization of immigrants and, not showing Black or Indian nurses on the NHS when they were saying, let's clap for the NHS. And they were just kind of whitewashing the media. And then I always wish that I'd made a bet that Trump would win, because after Brexit, I was like, if that can happen, then this can definitely happen. And everyone was like, no. And I wish I'd just put that $1 million bet on, because I would have been fucking rich, and then I could have trained as an assassin.
Yeah.
But I mean...
Like combining two fantasies into one there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you assassinate these people, they also become then like sort of icons or heroes. So
yeah.
The only thing I said about Trump and about the UK government, not the only thing, lols, was that sometimes we need bad things to happen so that that we can then relook at the processes, because otherwise the governments and the politicians will just stay the same.
I think you're right.
That systemic policy will just stay the same. So it unfortunately needed to happen. So how do we as the people build it up?
Yeah, I think there's a sort of pendulum effect to it where everyone draws parallels with Brexit and Trump all day long, but I think in a very, very similar fashion, nobody thought Brexit was going to get voted for, and nobody thought Trump would actually get in. And so then when it did swing that way, or to the right, probably should be, then I think there was a sort of shockwave effect, and what you're now seeing in American politics is this drastic move straight to, I was going to say straight to the left, like Biden got sufficient support to get in, and I think that's largely because there's a lot of centre and lefty votes who were just like, if we don't get out, like they might have been lazy last time, and they probably thought, if we don't actually get out and do something, we're going to get this fucking clown in for another 4 years. Let's get out. Let's
Because it's that thing about silence is violence. It's like, well, someone else will probably do it. Oh, I didn't make it to the polls today, but my one vote doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, we got fucked up. Or like you saying you didn't really vote. And I didn't really vote when I was growing up either, because also because I grew up in a religion where we weren't supposed to vote. But, then not knowing anything when I left the religion to kind of understand, and no one could really tell me about politics. So growing up, not voting and not kind of having that from your parents or anything like that. When I remember sort of being in London and being like, well, so who do you vote for? Who should I vote for? And no one could really explain it to me, so I just never voted.
Yeah, I don't think that's abnormal either. I think a lot of people just sort of it's probably sorting itself out now, because I think with Twitter and people sharing shit on Facebook constantly, I think people rightly or wrongly think that their opinion matters way more. So like I was talking to a friend of mine from the comedy world a few weeks ago, and I was saying, back in the day, you would say something stupid in a pub, and then your mate would just shut you down and go like, "Shut the fuck up! What the fuck are you talking about?" And then that would be the end of it. You'd go away hurt. You'd think like, "Oh fuck, I said something stupid there." Like, "Oh, I won't say that again."
Yeah.
And then like now you go on Twitter and say the same thing, and fucking 100 people like it and retweet it, and that makes you go like, "Fuck yeah, the world is flat." And and then you end up in this, like, you think your opinion matters even though it's fucking nonsense.
I mean, there's a lot of Facebook warriors out there, and a lot of social media warriors, and I went also with Black Lives Matter. I was sharing, and I always check my information. I always think, am I going to say something stupid? And, can I back this up? So most things I said. And then, actually, literally this week, I'm like, do I even want to continue sharing my opinion? Because what does it matter? Like, I just need to do the kind of work and research now. It does, because I think it's also a release. I think it released a lot, and I did have some good conversations and some bad, but yeah.
I think it also depends on how you define, like how you look at your social media, because it's easy to look at it in a sort of cartoon sense where like, yeah, I'll post this because that's the thing I'm thinking about today, and then the next day you do a selfie and you're like, yeah, because my hair's looking all right today. I mean, not me today, but like but there's this sort of caricature of like someone on social media. But in actual fact, if you think forward like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, this is all going to be on a database somewhere, and in a weird way, sounds weird to say it, but it will end up being like the diaries of the day. So you will look back at your social media in like 20 years time and be like, fuck yeah, like Black Lives Matter, fuck, like what was I saying, like what was I thinking at the time, why did I think that, what were people saying about what I was like, it would be like a...
I already do it with Facebook memories. It says like, on this day 8 years ago, and I was like, feel really depressed, gonna drink myself to death with gallons of wine, and I was like, what was I thinking? And one of my friends said, oh yeah, it was when Brexit happened, and I was like, oh, so it's good
forgiven.
Yourself.
Yeah,
I think it's good. I used to write a diary when I was younger. Yeah, you don't write diaries anymore. It probably is going to be nice to kind of look back and be like, yeah, I was an activist and I stood up and I said something. Can I shut people down?
Yeah.
Having arguments on Facebook at 4 a.m. in the morning.
It was a weird time that for like middle class home counties white guys, because it's sort of like that the whole movement exploded, and it was obviously a very emotive video that kicked it all off. We didn't really kick it off, but it ignited it, right? Earlier this year. And I shared, like everyone shared the black square on their Instagram.
Yeah.
And I caught some flack from some people about it, and they said like, "Oh, so have you changed the world today by like sharing your black square?" and I was like, I know it's silly, like to sort of to mock me in my sort of my little house in the home counties, and but I was like, I know I have I have black friends, and I was like, I would hate for them to think that I was not being supportive, and if me sharing this in just some very silly little Aid Thompson way can just show them that I'm not against it and that I'm on board with it and I support it, even if it I'm not like donating, I'm not out on marches or anything, but if like it's a silly thing that a guy who's basically locked up in a house looking after 2 kids, like if it's a little thing I can do, then maybe that will help someone or some was the way that I was looking at it.
I agree with you, because some people really got a lot of flack for that. And I posted it, and someone was like, "Do you know that you should post it with this and not with the the Black Lives Matter hashtag?" And I'm like, we're all learning. Not everyone was having this conversation 6 months ago.
No,
I mean, I have always been having this conversation because I've always come up against those conversations. Oh, yeah, you're a black woman, or you're this or that, or things at work, and just like little things that I would, because I don't mind educating. I never really got angry, but this also brought up a lot of trauma and a lot of things like, oh, that did happen because it was this.
Yeah.
For me, it was nice to see friends supporting it, because some friends didn't say anything, and that hurt even more, because I was like, that means you don't care about me.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose.
No, that sounds really harsh, but it's like, you don't, and obviously I wouldn't sort of, bring them out to dry and sort of be like, we're not going to be friends anymore unless they did something really bad. But, at the same time, it's really nice to be validated for your experiences.
Yeah, and I suppose it's like, you've got to be a bit, sensitive to what people themselves, like they may have just had a fucking rough 2 weeks of their own life, like, in that same period, and they just didn't get around to posting it, or they didn't, they were aware of it, but they just, like, their mum died, or their,
True. And it also was COVID. So it was like, we were right at the beginning of a pandemic, and then, which also I think highlighted it as well.
Yeah. But then there's the sort of flip side of it, where I have to sort of check myself, where I'm like, okay, look, I saw the video is fucking gross. Something has to change, and I'm bewildered when I see that sort of like apparatus in America, that it's still going on, and it's still just getting like brushed up under the carpet, etc. And then I sort of think, like, there is a bit of like American fetishism to this, in the sense that if that was a Eskimo guy who was like suffocated to death, or but like murdered by a policeman, in, let's say it happened, well, maybe not an Eskimo, but like if it was somebody else in a different country, in like Eastern Europe, or like out of Mongolia, or like somewhere, can I credibly say that I think it would have had the same reaction worldwide as Black Lives Matter did? And I don't think it would.
You know why?
Why is that? Is that because we in the UK and the rest of like Western and Northern Europe identify way more with American society because of like films and music and so on? Or is it that we think like America's kind of cool, and then when a big protest movement kicks off, then we're like, us too, yeah, we're here too. Like, is there an element of that?
No, it's basically the systemic fact and facts in data that every day a black man gets killed like that by police. So there's a huge amount. Loads of people get killed by the police every day, every week, every year. But the numbers are that they consistently and systemically go after black men. And so if you've watched 13th, it's like they stopped slavery only to put it into a jail sentence. Yeah. The jails make money out of sort of stopping black men. So if black men get stopped for a $20, bit of weed, and he gets 30 years in jail. Yeah. They stop a white guy and he gets a rap on the knuckles. Or all the rich kids, rich white kids who are selling cocaine and sleeping with prostitutes get a rap on the knuckle. And I can say Brock Turner, who was sort of a star swimmer, he raped a woman and they saw him doing it. Yeah. And he got off within 6 months because he had a life before him, and we don't want to ruin it. Whereas if that was a black guy, he would be on the death penalty. So the issue is that it is about the color of their skin in the US. We're not fetishizing anything, and not just black people, but people of color, anyone that's not white, basically. Yeah. Then they're getting this treatment. So it was just the finality of like, not one more person. Like an animal on the street. And I mean, actually, it didn't start with George Floyd. It started with Amy Cooper in the New York Park with the bird watcher. That's where it started. That's right,
yeah. And in fact, who was the woman that was pulled over and, fuck me, I can't remember her name. She was pulled over by a police officer, and he just goes up. Immediately, he's aggressive, and she's like, whoa, okay, hold it, like, and so then after him being aggressive to her for about sort of 2 minutes or something, she starts then getting a little bit lippy or a bit aggressive, like I would. Like, if somebody was there supposedly to protect and serve me, and they're being aggressive, I might be a little bit cheeky back. And then, because she's being cheeky back to him, he fucking drags her out of the car by her hair, and she ends up hanging herself in the police cell because she thinks that she's going to... I can't remember the specifics of the situation now, but I think there was some impact with her job that if she had been arrested, she was just going to lose her job. So she committed suicide. So it's like, obviously there's a catalogue of incredibly awful crimes that happened before Floyd, but I feel like Floyd was the thing that really sparked it.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, Black Lives Matter has been going on for a long time, but I know who you're talking about, and I really wish I could remember her name, because when I went to the US with some of our friends in 2015, it just happened, and I was terrified to go to the US, because I said, I'm a black woman. If they stop me and they don't listen, then I can die on the street. And I don't think she killed herself. I think they killed her.
Yeah, there was a lot of...
They've also done that with a lot of people, and you see the body cam stuff now, and you're like, oh my fucking God, you know?
What's the body cam stuff?
Of all policemen.
Body cam, sorry, yeah.
And they still don't care, actually. Yeah.
This is the thing.
I'm searching for her name, because I'm like, I really want to know what her name is now.
Yeah, this isn't Joe Rogan. I don't have like a guy like, Jamie, can you just look that up for me?
I mean, Sandra Bland.
That's right, yeah.
Yes. That terrified me, and that was in 2015. And actually, just as I'm looking at it, it's like Kimberly Crenshaw, like Breonna Taylor. There's so many people.
And the guy, who was the guy that he was just out for a morning jog, and those two guys. My God, do you remember that?
Aubrey.
Taylor?
I think it was Aubrey, right?
I think so.
Again, you can't go out for a run because you're black. You can't go.
Yeah, I think this is the definition or the distinction that a lot of people are missing, and I suppose it goes back to what I was talking about before about like Americana and fetishization of America. But I think it's this systemic element to it, where it's like, look, just because your dad is a cop, and you say he's not racist because he's got black friends and he loves, the 49ers or whatever, right? That's all great. I'm sure he's a great guy. But it's the fact that he works for a police force that is set up in such a way that they have to, let's say, supply the local jails with 100 more guys. And in order to get those 100 guys, they go to the low or impoverished neighborhoods, and let's say that those impoverished neighborhoods tend to be made up of ethnic minorities and so on. And so the whole system is set up to basically take this group of people and then put them in this place, this institution. Yeah. And then it's the total lack of a route out there. Like, I feel like in the UK, we're a little bit more progressive in this sense, although for how much longer that lasts, I don't know. But if you go to prison in the UK, it's not the end of your fucking life. It's like you go to prison, they'll give you a free degree. You can train in prison. Like, let's say you do like a 5-year stretch, you could get a degree and maybe even a master's in there and come out. Yeah.
I used to make this stupid joke, like, free meals, work out, get a hot body, and a degree. Fine.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a Vice documentary. It was about this writer, and he actually got sent to, what's the worst prison you can get sent to in the UK, in London? What's it called? Do you remember?
Is there one in Pentonville? And there's...
No, it's not Pentonville, but like...
Wormwood Scrubs is a famous one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Wormwood Scrubs. So he does something where he gets done for fraud. He didn't know that he was signing this document that then, his business partner, basically he got fucked over and he got sent to prison. And he was saying it's like, it's nothing in the UK. It's just like, just go in, get a sloppy meal, and like he goes, he met some really like sweet guys. I mean, he spent 5 years in jail. I wish I could find it and send it to you. I'll try and find it, but
I think it's like
I don't think the UK is as bad. But what happens in the UK is when they're told that they can be racist and blame stuff on immigrants. That's then you get kind of these microaggressions on the bus, like go back to your own country and all that, and that makes me sad because I'm like, we were living in the UK for a long time, and
yeah,
where do you think your Indian takeaway comes from? Where do you think your Chinese takeaway comes from?
It's so crazy. Like as a Brit to have grown up in the 80s and 90s, and to have assumed that we were kind of past that. It was like ignorance on my part. But I sort of assumed that because, like, in the 80s and like we always pride ourselves in the UK of being like less racist than the US, because we're like, I can't believe they like run around throwing the N-word and like shooting black dudes in the like, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
But we always conveniently forget that whole awkward 80s period where people were throwing literal human shit at like Pakistani businesses and not even Pakistani businesses. Like you'd be like
that's not English.
Yeah, just somebody that was a little bit darker than you, and you'd be like, fucking Pakistan, Scott. Like there's this horrible period that people just, as soon as it got to 1990, people were like, well, yeah,
that's happened. Punk and the Spice Girls happened. I mean, because the thing is, I used to, because I didn't know. Again, I mean, I also used to call myself half caste because that's what I thought that I was called. Until someone said to me, "Oh, you can't say that anymore. You're mixed race." And I must say, I rarely experienced any racism when I was growing up. Even though I was kind of one of the only black girls at school, or mixed race girls. I think there was another Indian girl at school.
Yeah.
No one ever in our scene or in our pub has ever said anything. I think maybe I had the nickname Black Scene, or but that's just hilarious. I mean, someone said something ridiculous once and I just laughed it off because I just didn't feel like in that way. Actually, for me, the first time I kind of experienced segregation or racism was when I moved into London, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're black," and that was from the black community. Not racist, but like, "Oh, you don't fit in here," or what, you think you're too posh. And I was like, "No, excuse me," and then sort of not fitting into kind of either way, because then, I had a lot of white friends, and I worked in the city, and I worked, at these banks, and I worked really hard to get where I was. And then it's like, again, you kind of move to Amsterdam, and there's a lot of kind of there's people from Suriname, from Indonesia. There's lots of other cultures here, Moroccan and Turkish, but no one actually integrates. So again, I was kind of the only white. I was only white. There she goes.
Yeah. I will not stand for this cultural reappropriation.
I'm a white woman. Don't you know? Again, sort of working for leadership roles as kind of a black person, but I kind of fitted in because my name's Maxine Penney and I sound quite posh, And
do you ever feel like, I was going to ask you about this, like because you and I both come from the same council estate.
Yeah.
In Maidenhead.
How dare you? Badger Close was not a council estate.
But it's like I grew up on council estates in Maidenhead, as did you.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm reasonably well spoken for a guy that came from council estates.
I think we're all quite reasonably spoken. And I don't know what it is, because my sisters, who are 8, 10 and 12 years older than me, their friends used to say to my sister and say, "Why does Maxine sound so plummy? Why does she sound so good?" So I don't know if it was kind of our era, but I also think my sisters are quite well spoken.
Yeah.
Some of her friends maybe not.
But do you ever feel like, because I sometimes look back on like being in school and stuff, not so much when I was older, but like I think like, okay, so I was like on my council estate, I was the sort of well-spoken one.
Yeah.
So I didn't really fit in there. And then when I went to school, you sort of, I mean, it's a I don't know, so like sociological fact that you sort of warm to people who are kind of similar to you, which is kind of half the problem with racism. But when I was at school, like when I was at school, I immediately like struck up a friendship with Chuck, also quite well spoken. There was a guy actually two guys I became quite friendly with in like year 7, like right at the beginning of senior school, and like all the way through, my friends were sort of, they sounded a bit like me.
Yeah.
But they all lived in fucking like 5-6 bed houses.
Yes.
With like, and both the parents were still together, and the dad was a director in a company, like pulling in big bucks. And so it's like I didn't fit in on the council estates because they would all be like, "Yeah, you all right, dude?" You know, "How you doing, yeah, you all right? You all right, son?" Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Oh, just don't attack me."
You look free, I'm sorry.
So just this weak, like 12-year-old. No, just take my money. And then and then as I got older, then like my friends who were well spoken would all, you know, I didn't feel like I fitted in there either, and but I just wondered, like, so have you had like sort of a similar experience, or does that sound like totally foreign to you, or?
No, I actually think you're right, and I didn't really think about it until you said it. So, yeah, again, we grew up on this council estate, but my dad had his own business for a short period in the 80s before the first recession hit and killed a lot of businesses. But we would go on two holidays a year, and I mean, I say holidays, we would go to Devon and we would go to Cornwall and we'd go camping, which is really nice. But a lot of the families in our on our road wouldn't be able to do that, so we were like considered posh.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there was 5 children, so I mean, it was super expensive, and we'd get into the car and we'd go. But then I also feel the same, like, and that's why I always used to like grow up in Maidenhead near Windsor, and then our friends would have like swimming pools in their back gardens, or they were. But again, you never kind of fitted in there, and I was always a bit like, "Am I poor kid?" But no, I kind of just held myself to their kind of standards, and I would try and fit in with them. I don't know why, and so when I went to London, the same thing. I was just like, well, if you don't want to accept me, I'm just going to go and continue doing this.
I sort of feel like I went down a similar trajectory where I was like desperate to leave Maidenhead from about like the idea of being a fish out of water did not scare me or faze me at all. I was like, I just need to get the fuck out of here. Like, and I finished uni at 21, and then I was still in Maidenhead for about from 22 to 25, I think. And but like all through that time, desperate to fuck off. And then finally I did, and I was like, as soon as I spent the first night in Turnpike Lane, which is a shithole, I was like, I'm so happy to be here.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing is, I love to hate Maidenhead as well, because I of course it's our hometown, but I think I'd already escaped to Crete when I was 18.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember I ran away to Crete with that guy?
Yeah, I do remember that.
That was a drama in itself, and then I came back, and I came back to Maidenhead, but I still really wanted to escape, and also again really as soon as I could, sort of moved into London.
Yeah. Moving up to London, for people who don't necessarily feel like they fit in, or like there's some sort of sensitivity there, I think is the best thing ever, because it's like whatever corner of London you decide to inhabit that weekend, the sort of, I don't know, there's an excitement that, like, I've since I was like fucking 10 years old or something, the first time I went to London, I got a buzz. I was like, this is where the fucking magic happens. Like I'm in a Disney movie. Like, wow.
I was like the streets are paved with gold. I was like, get me to London. And I would go in. I didn't care if I slept at Paddington on the way back, or, somehow try and get home, on the sort of, hour and a half train journey if you missed the fast train. I just was like, I'm just going to do it. And I found friends in London. I stayed with people in London. I mean, I just... that's an ode to also like being able to just go and do whatever you want, and like meet people and just go out and slightly be anonymous as well.
I don't know if there's, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I don't know if there's like something to do with like feeling a bit like that and then wanting to meet new people constantly. I don't know if you feel like that, but I feel like
I love meeting new people.
Yeah, like when I was in there's a real paradoxical element to it though, because I genuinely feel fucking terrified at the thought of like I'm gonna say something stupid, they're gonna hate me, they're gonna but I it's like a flame like I can't go away from. And I fucking I love going to, you know, like a party and then having a chat with this guy and like hearing about his life and then like talking to this girl over here and
But do you think Maidenhead made us that way? Because we were always talking to random people in the pub. And when I moved into London, like honestly, the group of guys who are still my friends now, when I first kind of met them randomly and I sort of stuck around, they couldn't get rid of me and then they became my friends. They were like, why are you so friendly to everyone? Why do you want to talk to everyone? Why do you want to go to South London? Why don't we just stick to East London? I was like, because that's what like you do. Yeah. And I feel like that came, even though we wanted to escape, I think that came from Maidenhead. You would just talk to like the random guy or the random girl next to you at the pub, you know, and you'd get, you know, lathered together and that's it.
Yeah, it's like for such a small town, I mean, it's got a population of like, I mean, is it a small town? I don't know, like 70,000?
I always say small town.
Yeah, there's a romance to it if you say small town, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm like small town by the river, Maidenhead population. Like, when would you say 1999?
Yeah.
I'm doing our research here.
Sure, yeah.
So,
but I feel like for such a small place, it did feel like, well, let's clarify. So it's not a small place, but socially for like, let's say 15 to 20 year olds, it is actually quite a small place because it's the same like 100 people that go to the same pub every Friday and Saturday night. Right. But for that, or with that in mind, it feels like there was just this endless supply of randoms that you could get talking to. And like, you would, I don't know, maybe one weekend your friend would bring their friend from a different college or uni in town, and then the next weekend you'd all go off to see your mate's band in Reading, and then you'd meet someone there, and then the next week they'd be in Maidenhead and hanging out, and like it didn't feel like the same 5 people constantly sat around a pub table.
Yeah. It says 150,000.
Oh, really?
2019. So I always said around. And the reason why I always called it that, I said that I was always from Maidenhead next to Windsor, is because it's the royal borough of Windsor and Maidenhead.
Yeah, but then did you say that after they said that you were quite plummy?
Yeah. They're just like, why, you know? But I don't even hear that, you know. And even when I moved into London, everyone's like, oh, you sound like you're from London. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, like I admire your bravery for moving to a foreign country where English is not the first language, because I've gone out, I hope I'm not being disrespectful saying this, but I've gone out with girls who English is not their first language. Let me rephrase. I've bought women who English... No, I've gone out with girls who have... Like, English is not their first language, and they've been lovely girls, and we've got on great, but I personally found it frustrating talking to them, having to abandon slang and expressions and speak really slowly so they can understand. And I've like, it must be that in like inverted for you being in Amsterdam, because like whenever you talk to an Amsterdam guy or an Amsterdam girl, like they must be on the receiving end of that, but I'm assuming that they're way more patient and nice than I am, because I'm outwardly patient and nice, but internally I'm thinking, I'm going to break up with you. This is not working.
Terrifying. So the thing is about the Dutch, and especially, I mean Dutch in Amsterdam, and let's say maybe Rotterdam, but Amsterdam, is that they get taught English from school, so from like junior school. Right. So actually their English is practically perfect.
Cool.
So it is frustrating for them, for me to be like kind of that, my Dutch is, you know, not that great because they're just English. The thing that I miss is kind of that banter and that quickness that I have with my friends. Because if they hear me talking to my English friends, they're like, "Oh, I lost you," and I'm like, "See, we don't really speak the same English, and the humor is completely different. So I really miss that, and I
Yeah.
really miss kind of like that kind of laddie, jokey culture that we again grew up with, or even the London lads. It's like cheeky,
Yeah.
but I think I also miss Australians and Americans. I'm like, anyone else that just doesn't have English as their first language. So yeah, I do feel the same probably.
There's definitely a sort of like, I mean, when you say like anglicised, it sounds like a sort of like bit of a dog whistle like term. But it's like if I say, oh yeah, I like things with anglicised names,
Yeah,
like immediately people are gonna be like, this guy's a fucking
I
racist.
know.
But like with Aussies and Americans and Brits, I feel like there is a layer of banter and teasing and like verbal horseplay that is just not reciprocated, but rarely reciprocated or appreciated even in other tongues,
not.
right? So I'll give you an example. So I know a guy who's married. His wife is foreign, Eastern European, and she overheard the way that he was talking to his mum, which was like mother to son, but very British and taking the piss out of each other. And her reaction to it was like, why are you so disrespectful to your mother? And he's like, and she's like, I would never say that to my mother. And he's just like, this. I mean, we're just joking. Like there's such a barrier there.
Yes.
And I can't imagine like how I'd just be like, get a fucking grip. This is how people talk.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I could notice myself doing it. So, like, when I was doing my radio show with Matt, and, like, he'd start laughing because I'd suddenly blurt out a really British word that I wouldn't be able to say with my non-British friends.
Yeah.
But so British that he'd be like, what is that word? And I'm like, it popped from the back of my mind from somewhere because I know that I can say that to you. Whereas before I would have had to, like, re-explained it within, with 2 sentences or something. So
yeah,
I mean, it's quite hard. I'm reading a book called The Culture Map right now, and it is, how to talk to different cultures and hierarchy. And I always used to say there's like 16 layers of Britishness, because when I moved to the Netherlands, like, they're really direct, and they just ask for what they want. And British people don't really ask for what they want. So if you're in the office and you're going for lunch, for instance, and they're like, does anyone want anything? Even if you wanted something in the UK, you wouldn't say it, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I'll come with you because you don't want to bother them.
Yeah. Or you don't want to broadcast what you're about to eat for lunch across the room. And
exactly, because you hate people talking about what you're going to eat as well. And here, I remember doing it when I first moved over, and I was like, oh, does anyone want anything? And kind of was already half out the door, and I ended up with this massive shopping list from my Dutch colleagues. Like, oh, can you just get me this, this brochure, this bread, and can you get me this and that? And I was like, because in England you just would say no politely, and then I really hurt myself because I was like, oh God, and they're like, I'll give you the money back, and you're like, I'm broke, I've just moved to this new country, and like,
it's funny. It'd be funny to like sort of pick that apart, like truly honestly with the colleague. Just be like, I know that it seems like I was offering that to you, but I actually wasn't offering that to you. I was just trying to appear nice, and then you actually quite rudely took me up on my offer, and now I have to feel rude about it addressing this with you. So thanks very much. They'd be
exactly. Now you've made me look really bad.
Okay, so here's a weird question, right? So you've worked in recruitment. I've worked in recruitment. Do you think, right, that this blog, I think I mentioned this to you when we were texting, right? So this blog that I read, they had done some analysis, and they said that in order for the US and the West to compete with China on the global market, then America would have to start adopting China's policies in terms of basically being a dictatorship or authoritarian government. So like taking away people's rights, making them work like 15-hour days, no maternity, no paternity leave, like etc. etc. That's the only way that they can compete, because that's how China have become basically number one.
Yeah.
And I wonder, right, how long do you think it will be? Not before they strip away maternity pay or stuff like that, because I think that would immediately be too emotive and get protest movements. But what about if somebody said, like JP Morgan or Nike, or someone said, look, we're not saying give up your weekend. We're saying if you want to work in this role, which is actually quite well paid, you got to work Saturdays as well. How long do you think that'll be? I don't think it'd be that long.
Good question. Because I'm like, it feels like that's the way it's going. That they're just going to be like, right, this is it. And like you said, sort of twist it like it's Nike. You love working for Nike. I mean, we work late anyway, so you might as well work on a Saturday. And if you do, get an extra, Starbucks a day or something. I mean, people do it a little bit without kind of having that.
Yeah, there's a meme that goes around on Twitter every now and then where they talk from a developer's point of view, and they say being a developer is the only occupation where if somebody walks towards you with beers and pizza, this person is not your friend, because that's the sign of like a product manager basically saying, can you work late for me?
Yeah. I mean, again, sort of being in recruitment in IT and talking to developers, and the fact that they had so much power because they could just tell you to like fuck off, because so many people called them and they were in such high demand, and so many people could try and offer things, and they could just be like, no, fuck off, or lie to you or whatever. And I was a bit like, oh my god, how dare they, but it's like, but people need them and people want them, and they can charge what they want, and why not?
It's also the only job I've been familiar with, both as a dev and as a tech recruiter, where people are very happy to remain, like, in quotes, just a dev. Like, if you work in an estate agent and you become, you're good at sales, they'll make you a team leader and then an estate agency manager. If you work in a hairdresser's and you're good at hairdressing, you don't just stay in, like, cutting hair, you become the manager of the hairdresser. But in dev, like, developers genuinely love developing, and they don't, almost across the board, they don't really want to be a development manager or a tech manager. They just want to code.
Yeah.
It's a really weird anomaly, because it's like, I mean, it sort of speaks to the idea that it's actually a really fun fucking thing to do. It's very rewarding, like building something, seeing it come to life. I
think that was one of the top 3 things if you were writing a job description for a dev person, was like, what is the what's the fun bit about it? Like, what do they get to create? And that would kind of ensure.
Yeah.
Ensure.
Wow.
Ensure. See, they're popping out.
Somebody's done their vocal warm-ups before this.
It's been 2 hours. I'm like, ensure that like they've got something that they're working towards that they can like be proud of. And that was kind of one of the things, like, you can get to be creative. And
the other thing I think is like what they can learn in the role. Like, there's this cliche that every job spec is always like, oh, so you know React? Cool. Yeah, you must have 15 years of React experience and 10 years of GraphQL and Node.js, and then you must also know like every database out there, and also every CSS framework, and blah blah blah. And there's no mention of what they'll actually get to learn. It's like, which is really the big thing for developers. They're like, well, I want to know, like, what I mean. You're asking for this, but is that what you want? Is that what I'm going to get to learn?
And I think what I learned as well, because they were like, we want a senior developer with 10 years, like you said, React or whatever, or C++. And then, the person would come to me and say, well, that's impossible because that hasn't been around for 10 years. It's been around for 5 years. So what do they want? If they mean senior, they just mean 5 years. They're just making this shit up. They don't know what they want. So, I mean, that's also probably why they came to us as a recruitment agency. But I learned a lot of stuff like that as well.
We've been chatting for fucking ages.
I know.
Thank you so much for joining me, and I will endeavour to like pop all of your social media links and everything onto the YouTube. So if you want to catch up with Maxine, then please check that out. And maybe hopefully you'll join us for another episode in due course. Yes, I've loved it. It was lovely catching up. We'll probably have to do it again. We'll do it again next time over a pub table, or if the pandemic, like if the virus mutates or whatever, then this is good too. Yeah, end of January maybe I'll be in the UK. So as long as you don't hop over to Amsterdam, maybe we can be 1.5 square meters, not square meters, 1.5
meters apart from each other.
Yeah, it'd be good to see you and not hug.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Hello.
Maxine Penney, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.